Hi, everyone. Oh, am I live?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Hi, everyone. Sophie Park here. I'm the Chief Strategist for the Bayer G4A Digital Health team. Today, I will be talking about digital health that can solve potential public health challenges and how it incorporates into public health as we know it. So a little bit before I begin, a little bit about G4A and the team that we are in. So we are a part of the Bayer Pharmaceuticals team division. Our mission and vision is really health for all through digital health. And we do this by scaling digital health solutions to create impact, empower lives, and change the experience of health. And really, the underlying ethos and the foundation of all that we do here at G4A is based on equity, access, and sustainability for healthcare. So what do we do at G4A and why am I here today? So we are the digital health ecosystem innovators, the bridge between digital health ecosystem innovators and Bayer. And what we really offer through our platform and through our team is commercial partnerships, co-creation, M&A opportunities, late-stage investments, early-stage acceleration, and also investments as well. So before I kind of began into my talk around, how digital health can affect public health, vice versa, I wanted to get a baseline and bring everyone kind of on the same page on how we define digital health. So digital health is actually the convergence of health technologies with healthcare, living, and society to really enhance the efficiency of care delivery and to make medicine more personalized and more precise. That's really the kind of aura and the underlying background of what digital health does. So there are several verticals within digital health and where digital health products and solutions can fall into. And some of these are, digital therapeutics, evidence-based therapeutic interventions for patients and even for people like you and I, driven by high-quality software programs with or without pharmaceutical drugs. Now we have diagnostics, detecting the type or cause of a disease state based on biological and behavioral biomarkers, including digital biomarkers. So patient monitoring, we have patient parameters that are repeatedly or continuously measured for the purpose of better guided care decisions. We have HCP engagements. This includes, telemedicine. This includes workflow support. It provides access to information and also resources to healthcare professionals with the aim to optimize care and care delivery. Then we have drug development, better known within the pharmaceutical industry, digitalized drug development. It contributes to optimizing research and clinical trials and processes for the more efficient development for drug discovery to create more effective drugs. And then last but not least, you have business decision support. So these are, platforms and solutions in digital health that guides planning and executing of business operations based on insights from stakeholder activities and behaviors. So this is kind of where these are the verticals of where we see digital health products and solutions go under. So the real reason why I'm here is to kind of talk to you about what effects digital health has on public health. And we see this through the lens of, social determinants of health. And social determinants mean that these are factors that are beyond just health and care. So how it's defined is, these social determinants are the conditions in which you and I, in which people are born, where we grow up, where we live, where we work and even age. And they include factors like socioeconomic status, the education, neighborhoods, physical environments, employment, and also social support networks, as well as access to health and care. And below, you'll see how much of a percentage that these social determinants are determinant on the health care that we receive and the health behaviors that we exhibit And so healthcare, just straight generalized healthcare, is only 10% as a health determinant, which is incredible. It's only 10%. 20% of the health that we experience and the healthcare that we receive is based on the neighborhood and the areas and the environments that we live in. So for example, in Berlin, if you live in Potsdam, you will probably have much less general practitioners and more specialized doctors than if you were to live across the street in the city center next to Charité. And then we have 70% of health determinants based on social factors such as the social and the communities context that we live in, right? The people that we know, where we grow up, the cultures that we are brought up in, the education, the access to education, and the quality of education that we have access to, and also the economic stability of that said, whether that's you yourselves within your families or city, state, country, etc. And now these are some of the influencers that are driving adoption in public health. So, last year we've seen, it's been a very exemplary of a year, I think we can all admit. But what we have seen so far that have made a tremendous impact on public health has been the tech advancement. So there's been rapid advancements in tech through especially data networks, Internet of Things, I guess you can say, and also AI. COVID was a huge factor. It really spurred a lot of growth among digital health, the digital health industry, and healthcare in general. Stay-at-home orders, global pandemic shifted consumer behavior and the awareness of our own health. Prevention became a huge focus, especially last year, as many people were left to kind of fend for themselves in a lot of various different ways. And so, it really focused on preventative care and living a much more healthier lifestyles. We've seen a huge growth in investments, and that includes digital health actually now becoming a part of what we like to call capital markets, right? We've never seen such a shift before. Digital health investments have been growing in the last several years, but just within last year, there's been an exponential growth. And then we have government support. Now, this is a huge aspect, and policy goes into it. Economic policy and then also health policy fall into here as well. We've seen governments that were able to, right, sort of get together and figure out how to overcome a lot of these different challenges that we've seen in the pandemic. And with that, it made it very clear to a lot of governments that, they needed to support the digitalization of health and healthcare in the systems that they are a part of with various initiatives. So here's some fun facts. Now imagine what happened last year, and this is the US alone. There was over 1 billion less primary and secondary healthcare visits during 2020. 1 billion less, and this is only US alone. So can you imagine what that number can be across the world? And why this number is so important in terms of public health outcomes and the effect it has on public health is because most of these people who do get primary and secondary health care and go visit their doctors, it means that these people probably needed, like a majority of these people probably needed to see their doctors but didn't. So what does that mean in terms of health outcomes for the future, right? What does it mean to have a sick person not be able to see their doctors on occasion? This also has huge market access impact as well. So think about, I was recently speaking to a health economist and also pharmacist, and they said, we've seen people come in, through the pandemic, but because they have chronic conditions and they're at very high susceptibility rate to COVID, they're just too scared to leave their houses or their apartments to even get the basic medication that they need to take. And so now what's happening is these people who are unable to make these healthcare visits are now extending the duration of the medication that they're supposed to take. So it has a huge market access impact, because what do you do when a patient or someone is supposed to go into the pharmacy and get a pill that lasts for 3 months? But instead, they try to use this pill and make it last for 6 months because they don't want to go outside because of the COVID pandemic. So this has a huge, huge implication for public health. But what we also saw last year is that consumers of health became more aware of their health and well-being across all consumer health categories during 2020. And what this really means is, here's a breakdown of around nine sort of consumer health concerns and categories within consumer health, and awareness has grown. So the navy blue is 2020. And the light blue is the awareness that has increased. I mean, for the majority of it, you have eye and vision issues, stress and anxiety, sleeping problems, digestive issues, joint muscle pain, headaches, digestive issues, lower digestive issues, obesity, weight management, even seasonal allergies. So we have seen that people have become even more aware, whether that's just going to the optometrist to get your eyesight checked, or managing stress and anxiety, mental health. People became much more aware of that. They became much more aware of how they sleep, what they ate. And so this really, truly, the COVID pandemic last year has had a huge impact on the public perception and the awareness. And here's why it correlates to public health. Because this pandemic has shaped a completely new generation of empowered health consumers. And from a public health perspective, it means that there's more health empowerment. So out of about 2,500 people who were asked of the survey, 85% were very much or somewhat likely to engage now in DIY care, so self-care. Health literacy had increased. People were much more aware of what was happening in the world. They were much more aware that there was a clear need. They were aware that there were clear gaps in our public health systems last year, and it said that 65% of people were more likely to consider health in a day-to-day decision making. Right? So health literacy was increased. Higher investment into self-care. So 20% of people have increased their healthcare coverage in response to the pandemic, which is incredible. So, and also this includes social systems like Europe, for example, where where consumers have an option to opt into certain private healthcare, even if public healthcare is available. Across the world, we have seen that increase. And 3 in 5 consumers sought to improve their health as a result of the pandemic. And finally, the trust in digital healthcare and technology in healthcare had much increased. So now, because we were forced at stay-at-home orders, we were forced to stay at home, more consumers are willing to now share personal data as a result of the pandemic. And this is huge because, data has always been a huge factor, and also a limiting, but also an exciting factor, but mostly limiting because there's a lot of, data privacy aspects that were of concern to most consumers. But what we've seen now is that people are willing to share their data more than what was before. And now there's been a 45% increase with trust and also virtual doctor visits, and people would much prefer that now as well. And just to kind of show you in terms of market growth, I mean, just with venture capital funding in the US alone, there was an exponential growth between 2019 and 2020. In addition to that, I mean, you see that in Europe as well, there's funding that's growing, slow but steady, but it is growing. And a lot of these market drivers obviously is the pandemic, right? Data became a lot more essential for healthcare stakeholders. More processes were becoming more digitalized to streamline operations, to drive the prices down and enhance better treatment options for people. Consumerization of healthcare gained a lot of momentum, as I mentioned. So a lot more consumer-centric services were brought out to aim to help people navigate the healthcare systems. And they emphasize features such as ease of use and also personalization. And this really is just an overview on where, you know, these massive funding is coming from. I mean, US obviously is leading, but there are some Nordic countries and Spain also emerging now as digital health pioneers in Europe. But you see on the far left and the right side. So on the right side, the hubs within the US where, you know, the most of the funding is coming from is obviously the Bay Area, San Francisco. Then you have New York City and Boston on the East Coast. And then within Europe, you have London, Paris as a close second, and also Stockholm as well. But what's really interesting is looking at kind of the digital health index map of the top 5 countries. So this is actually Estonia, Canada, Denmark, Israel, and Spain. And what's really interesting about these top 5 countries within at least the digital health index map is that these countries also have digital health and government policies in place and public health funding to make it a more technologically advanced and digitally savvy health systems as well. So kind of, I want to go through sort of, you know, what's next, right? And what we're actually seeing within public health. I mean, I can go through the long list of issues that we have in public health systems, but I'm going to spare you from that and maybe give you a little bit of an example of why now digital health is going to be affecting public health in the future. It's because now technology is being able to solve health challenges for people through a more sustainable practice. We've seen that last year, the current systems that we have, not just in the US, but even in Europe, and we still see it with the vaccine rollout, I'm not going to go there, but I just did, we see that there are huge gaps still in health systems today. And this is now giving a runway for digital health companies to offer better coordinated health approaches, whether or not, you know, you are a patient with comorbidities or associated conditions. Digital health is now improving people's lives and helping to play a more active and informed role. So now as people are more aware of what is available to them for health and more aware of their health in terms of self-care, people are more willing to have an active and more informed role, and this is what digital health supports. It also helps support reduce inefficiencies in care and have a larger economic impact for the healthcare industry. And you know, the US and Europe alone have one of the highest spends in healthcare. And, you know, Europe as well also has massive health deficits. And, you know, from our experience, what we've seen in terms of health economic impact is now, you know, companies should be more aware of the outcomes of what their company offers in terms of a public health perspective. Because now what'll happen more and what shifts you'll start seeing in the industry is that, yes, you could be a consumer-facing product, or yes, you could be a B2B, you can, you know, offer it to employers or payers, whatever, but if you cannot show outcome or the benefits for investors or to potential partners or even to people, it's clear that these companies won't last very long. And so this is where the whole health economic impact kind of comes in with digital health. And then in addition to that, we've seen a lot of new solutions of businesses coming through with human-centered design approaches in the area of integrated digital health. And really the importance of this is to show what integrated care means and why it's important in terms of public health. Because when you think public health and all the social determinants of health, we've seen that there are so many various factors. I mean, we've seen that healthcare literally is only a 10% factor in the quality of care that you receive. And so when we look at it from what else is in the 90th percentile, it needs to be solutions now in the marketplace that show a more integrated approach to offering digital health solutions in the market. So Some of these can include, cognitive behavioral therapy, coupled with disease management, or even coupled with lifestyle prevention, offering patient literacy, care management, appointment scheduling. So what we've actually seen is, unless if it's very much biotech or drug discovery, which is a different, kind of caliber and category, we've seen that a lot of companies that are going to be successful in the future can't be point solutions anymore. You need to offer solutions that are integratable within a larger health system. So what is the outlook kind of for, digital health and public health? We're going to be seeing a lot more digital health consumer products, right? More heightened awareness of healthcare post-pandemic that'll drive more engagements. Brand recognition will be huge, and consumer trust will be paramount to the growth of digital health companies. Outcomes-based digital health is going to be a very important key factor. Digital health solutions that currently impact patient outcomes in specific therapeutic areas, increasing the importance of clinically validated digital health solutions. So I'm not saying everything has to be clinically validated, but you need to have positive outcomes in order to succeed. Interoperability and adoption is also something that we're going to be seeing a lot more. So interoperability will be prioritized. And what I mean by integrated care is exactly this, no more point solutions. It's going to be digital health solutions that can integrate seamlessly across various functioning, health systems, and really kind of bring about whether, positive outcomes for adoption. And obviously this will be more personalized, direct to consumer solutions, and it'll launch at scale, probably through more providers and payers, as we've seen a lot more providers and the payers coming into the market as well. And with that, I want to end it by letting you know that our applications are now open, and we at G4A, we are looking for solutions to invest and partner with within digital health in the areas of cardiometabolic, cardiovascular, oncology, women's health, and also mental health. And on the right side, you can see how you can be connected to us if you have any questions. But thank you so much for your time today.